in the heart of the quiet, sun-dappled village of Meadowbrook, nestled among rolling green hills and babbling brooks, lived a very special cat. His name was Whiskers, a sleek black cat with fur as dark as a moonless night and eyes that sparkled like brilliant emeralds. Whiskers wasn't just any cat. He had a curious spirit and a passion for adventure, especially when it involved delicious food. One bright morning, a sweet, tantalizing aroma drifted through the village, carried on a gentle breeze. It smelled of warm butter, sugar, and ripe, juicy strawberries. Whiskers' nose twitched, his emerald eyes widened, and he knew instantly where the scent was coming from. Mrs. Gable's cozy little cottage at the end of Primrose Lane. Mrs. Gable was known throughout Meadowbrook for her legendary baking. Her kitchen was a magical place, always filled with warmth, laughter, and the most delightful treats. Whiskers, being a clever and charming cat, had long ago won a special place in Mrs. Gable's heart and was a frequent visitor. Today he was on a mission. He had to know what was creating that heavenly smell. He trotted up the cobblestone path, his tail held high, and gave a polite little meow at the bright red door. The door creaked open, and there stood Mrs. Gable, her face crinkled into a warm smile, a dusting of flour on her rosy cheek. "Well, hello there, Whiskers, my dear. Come on in, you're just in time. We're making my famous strawberry jam tarts today. I have a feeling you're going to love them." Whiskers purred with delight and hopped onto his favorite stall, ready to observe the master at work. Mrs. Gable chuckled. "All right, my little apprentice, pay close attention. The secret to the perfect jam tart starts with the perfect shortbread crust. It needs to be buttery, crumbly, and melt in your mouth." She pointed a floury finger towards a collection of ingredients on her large wooden table. "First, our building blocks. We'll need about 1½ cups of all-purpose flour, ½ cup of unsalted butter that's been softened to room temperature, ¼ cup of granulated sugar for that touch of sweetness, 1 large egg and a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract, and, of course, the star of the show, about ½ cup of your favorite strawberry jam." Whiskers watched, captivated, as Mrs. Gable began. She took a large mixer bowl and added the softened butter and sugar. "Now, watch this, Whiskers," she said as she turned on the mixer. "We beat the butter and sugar together until they become light, fluffy, and creamy. This step is super important because it whips air into the mixture, which is what helps make our tarts so tender." The mixer whirred, and soon the mixture was a pale, creamy yellow. "Perfect," Mrs. Gable exclaimed. "Next in is our egg and the vanilla extract." She cracked the egg into the bowl, added the splash of vanilla, and mixed again. "We just want to mix this until everything is well combined. See how smooth and lovely it looks." Whiskers leaned closer, his whiskers twitching with anticipation. "Now for the flour," Mrs. Gable continued, changing the mixer speed to low. "We add the flour gradually. If you add it all at once, you'll have a flour explosion. We just want to mix it until the dough starts to come together. Don't overmix. or the crust will be tough. And we can't have that. Once a soft dough had formed, she turned it out onto a well-floured surface. "Now a little bit of kneading," she said, gently working the dough with her hands, just for a few seconds, until it forms a smooth, happy little ball. It's like tucking it into bed. She formed the dough into a perfect sphere, then gently patted it down into a disc. And just like us, the dough needs a little rest. She wrapped the disc in plastic wrap. "We'll let this chill in the refrigerator for about an hour. This helps the butter firm up, which will make the dough much easier to roll out and will give us that flaky texture we're looking for." An hour later, Mrs. Gable retrieved the chilled dough. "Now, here's a little trick, Whiskers. This dough can get a bit sticky as it warms up. To avoid a sticky situation, we'll roll it out between 2 sheets of parchment paper." She placed the dough disc between the sheets and began to roll. "We're aiming for a thickness of about 1/8 of an inch. Nice and thin, so it bakes up crispy." Whiskers watched, fascinated, as the dough spread out into a perfect, even sheet. Sometimes, Mrs. Gable noted, even with our best efforts, the dough gets a bit soft after rolling. If that happens, no worries. We just pop the whole sheet, parchment and all, into the freezer for a few minutes to firm it right back up. Next, she took a round cookie cutter and pressed it into the dough, cutting out perfect circles. She carefully peeled away the scraps around them. "We can re-roll these scraps once to get a few more tarts. We don't want to waste a single crumb." Now came the part that truly looked like magic to Whiskers. To create our little tart walls, Mrs. Gable explained, "We'll use a little shot glass. I'll just dip the rim in some flour to prevent it from sticking." She placed the floured glass in the center of a dough circle. Then press down gently, not all the way through. Using your fingers, you just gently press the edges of the dough up against the sides of the glass. See, it creates a perfect little cup to hold our jam. She carefully removed the glass, revealing a beautifully formed mini tart shell. She repeated the process for all the circles. If the shells start to get soft while you're working, just pop the baking sheet into the fridge for a few minutes. Cold dough is happy dough and much easier to handle. Finally, it was time for the jam. Mrs. Gable took a jar of glistening, ruby red strawberry jam. The aroma was intoxicating. "Now for the best part," she said with a wink. "We'll spoon about 1/2 teaspoon of this beautiful jam into the center of each tart. We want to spread it out evenly, but be careful not to let it overflow, or it will make a sticky mess in the oven." Whiskers could hardly contain his excitement. The little tarts looked like tiny jewels on the baking sheet. Mrs. Gable carefully slid the sheet into the preheated oven. "We'll bake these at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 Celsius for about 15 minutes. We'll know they're ready when the edges are a beautiful golden brown." The minutes ticked by, filled with the most incredible buttery, strawberry-scented air. Whiskers sat mesmerized, watching the oven door. Soon, Mrs. Gable pulled out the baking sheet. The tarts were perfect. The crusts were golden, the jam was bubbly and bright, and the entire kitchen smelled like pure happiness. She let them cool for a few minutes before carefully transferring one to a small plate and placing it on the floor for her eager apprentice. Whiskers took a tentative sniff, then a small bite. His emerald eyes lit up. The crust was crumbly and buttery, and the sweet, warm strawberry jam was simply divine. He let out a loud, rumbling purr of pure contentment. Mrs. Gable laughed. "I knew you'd like them, Whiskers." Baking isn't just about following a recipe. It's about making something with love to share with the ones you care about. Whiskers looked up at her, then back at his tart, and purred even louder. In that moment, in a cozy kitchen in Meadowbrook, a clever black cat had not only learned the secret to the perfect strawberry jam tart, but had also learned that the sweetest ingredient of all is friendship. I hope you enjoyed this little baking story with Whiskers and Mrs. Gable. If you try making these tarts at home, let us know how they turn out in the comments below. We love hearing from you. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more cozy stories and delicious recipes. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.